Let's talk all things sports, life, college athletics with the one and only John Canzano. Brought to you by Zeke's Pizza, homegrown in the Northwest. Visit Zeke'sPizza.com. John Canzano, BFT, there on social media. Bald-faced truth down there in Portland, Oregon. 3 to 6 every single day. Joins us inside the Limbeck Lumber Studios. Hey, so, I mean, we usually don't talk a ton of NBA, but breaking news just happened. The Nuggets just cleaned house.
Yeah.
They fired Mike Malone. Did they just win the championship? What are they doing?
Season for all things, man. I would tell NBA coaches, Don Draper said it on Mad Men. That's what the money's for, right? They are paying you not to stick around, but they're paying you for when they inconveniently and unfairly hand you a cardboard box and send you on your way. That's the reality, though, isn't it? Like, what have you done for me lately?
What? They just won a championship 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 10 seasons as a coach. They were 471, 327. It's not like, I mean, they're maybe a little disappointing this year, but they're currently 4th place in the West.
Yeah, it's not a total disaster, but I kind of feel like there's a management ownership exhaustion that happens with a coaching staff. Like, we've all seen it. There's kind of like this season for all things, and we know that, there's an art and a little bit of a science into ending an era and beginning an era. So I'm asking, I'm looking around the league and I'm going, what do the Nuggets see here that has shifted? And are they looking at the best teams in the West and saying, hey, we don't line up anymore? Was there just, an exhaustion that you tolerate with Mike Malone when he's winning you a championship, but when you're the 4 seed, you can't quite live with it? I don't know. I mean, I'll be curious to see what comes out of it. David Adelman, the son of Rick Adelman, getting the interim job. It'd be interesting to see that. Portland kid who's now going to be running the show there.
I mean, think about it. They're only a game and a half out of the 3rd spot.
Yeah.
Imagine being like somewhat decent at your job, whatever you do, and they're like, hey, you're out. It just tells me that maybe there's something else behind the scenes that we don't know about yet.
Look, you know this, and I know this. Some of what makes us all good at our jobs also makes us a little bit intolerable as people. And so like you find like really good radio show hosts, they can grate on you when you're dealing with them, in a sales meeting or whatever, and an opinionated columnist, great for what you're doing out in the world, but not so good when you're the manager trying to manage that person. Like, I just think they're sometimes maybe what makes Mike Malone intense and great at his job, it might make him a little bit insufferable to deal with.
Hey, what's the deal with Chauncey Billups? Is he sticking around for another year or two?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Blazers extended Joe Cronin, the general manager, gave him a multi-year extension yesterday. That news breaks yesterday. Chauncey's got 1 team option year left on his deal. Now, last summer, he did some interviews and basically said he didn't want to coach the team anymore. And I think any team that wasn't being led by a trustee would have said, hey, we'll negotiate you out of this deal. But the Blazers held him hostage. And then I think Chauncey didn't get the memo. Like, they were supposed to be bad, and he was going to the mattresses, playing all his guys down the stretch, trying to win games because, he got tired of losing. So they won like 14 more games than they did last year already. And so I think they're going to exercise his option. I think they're going to hold him hostage for 1 more year. Your fault, Chauncey. If you wanted to leave, you probably should have not won all those games, but they've got a very slim chance to get Cooper Flagg. It'll be like a 4% chance or a 6% chance at best. And they will probably run it back. And it tells me that the brain trust, Bert Cold and Jody, Bert is also with the Seahawks behind the scenes, and Jody as the trustee of the Seahawks. It tells me that they just kind of want to say, hey, status quo. They extended Joe Cronin. They will probably pick up that 1-year option on Chauncey and let him work as a lame duck. I'll bet you.
Where does the league want to place Cooper Flagg, you think?
Oh, man, that's a great question.
Where do you think they want him to go?
Ideally, I would put him in. I'd put him in New York. I'd put him in, somewhere like that. But I don't know. I think that's ideal. Like, best case scenario, I'd put him in the biggest market possible. But, you could stick him, I think, in any market. I think he really would work in Portland. I think Portland fans would love to have him. but I think he's such a complete player and a guy who plays so hard and so marketable. But if you are Adam Silver in your dream scenario, you tell me, put him in Phoenix.
Well, who's got the best? Is it Utah and Washington and Charlotte right now?
Yeah, 14% chance for those teams at the top, which really isn't a guarantee at all, right?
Yeah.
The Blazers in the year they got Greg Oden, they had a 5% chance, and they ended up with the number 1 pick. So I don't know. The conspiracy theories kind of went away with David Stern, but let's see if one comes back for Cooper Flagg. Wembanyama to the Spurs wasn't exactly a big market, but it was perfect for Greg Popovich and the Spurs.
Sure, of course it was. Well, yeah. I don't know if it's a conspiracy. The Sixers got a 10% chance to get him. Philly's good market.
Yeah,
maybe they're Brooklyn at 9%. Yeah.
I think he works anywhere, though. I think for the league, what you really want is you want to put him somewhere that the ideal thing would be, hey, expansion franchise, put him in Seattle, expansion franchise, put him in Vegas, boost one of those teams. I'm not pandering to your audience right now, but I think until that Adam Silver fixes that, that was the biggest wrong of David Stern's era, taking the Sonics away from Seattle. Until he fixes that, the rest is window dressing for me. Get that fixed. Come
Absolutely. On. All right, what did we think of the national championship game tonight? I'm getting a sense you were lukewarm on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like Todd Golden's reaction after the win, all about him and his backcourt and his front court and how great they were. And oh, by the way, is he going to be sliding into people's DMs now again? Or he was a bit of a creeper, and Florida kind of swept that away. And then you cast him against Kelvin Sampson. That Houston team just played so hard, and there were such weird outcomes. Weren't those 2 games at the end so weird?
Yes.
Duke was better than Houston. Duke wins that game 7 or 8 times out of 10, and they somehow found a way to lose it. And Houston was better than Florida, and they probably win that game 6 or 7 times out of 10, and they found a way to blow a double-digit lead, both of them. But then one shining moment comes on, and we're all aware that fewer mid-majors than ever have been in this tournament, and I felt like one shining moment, the thing it missed was there's no Albany, there's no Davidson, there's no George Mason, it was blue bloods acting like they're underdogs with one shining moment playing in the background. And so to me, it kind of underscored the idea that the selection committee, put more of the mid-majors in. I don't need to see them in the Final Four. If they get there, great. But if they, but put them into the tournament and let them have a puncher's chance.
Yeah, but we agree on this one. When it gets to the Final Four, these games were fantastic.
Yeah, they were great.
Oh, they were great. I just think that this was a game last night that I heard some people say, God, it just wasn't a great game. And I thought, I don't know if some people need to have the game played in the 80s, maybe the 90s for it to be a great game. I watched that first half, and I thought that was probably the best defensive first half of a basketball game from both teams that I'd ever seen. It was fast. It was aggressive. Everybody was making plays. It was physical, but not to the point where the physicality crossed the line. And then what I was so disappointed in is that the officials just didn't allow it to happen in the second half. I don't know who they got talked to. Whether it's probably Golden at Florida that just was bitching at them. He said, "Hey, we need to clean this up," and then it just got tight. And then we lost the rhythm and we lost the physicality. There is in basketball, there is a beauty to, physical basketball to a degree. I'm not talking Pistons and Knicks, and that's not what was playing last night. But you saw 2 teams, especially Houston, that got after you defensively.
Yeah.
And there's something cool about that.
Yeah, and I love, the end of the game essentially ends on a loose ball. Oh. And we all saw the video of Houston on the loose ball drill, and it's the one loose ball they didn't get,
Great point.
And here is Florida dancing off. And, I think the Final Four delivered. I thought they were good games. I just felt like the overall feel of the tournament, and we're all reminded when Bubba Cunningham gets up there and he's handing the trophy to Florida. I thought Bubba was going to go, hey, we're going to give this to UNC. There was going to be a twist in the plot in the 11th hour. But I'm afraid that the Power Four is trying to run away with everything. We know that. And I want to see a little more wide open feel to the start of the tournament. And we have had these great opening round upsets in the past where some of the power conference teams mix it up with a Davidson or a Albany or a George Mason, and they get beat because they don't show up to play. Florida Atlantic, you don't show up to play. That's a pretty good team. They beat you. But those teams were not allowed into the field. There were only 8 teams that did not belong to a Power 4 conference that made the field. And among the 8 were teams like UConn, Xavier. It was like some Big East teams that you probably would, there really were only 5 teams that weren't part of the Big East and the Power 4 that got into the bracket. That's not right.
One thing that I don't like when I watch any sporting event is the guys that do play-by-play tweeting. It's just, and then so I have to get off of it because I don't need to know, hey, it's a gain of 4 yards there. It's 3rd down and 6. Yeah. Well, I'm watching the game. Like, I know.
Yeah.
What's worse than that is play-by-play tweeting of congressional hearings. And goddamn was my timeline. I would, every time I'd look, it just filled. Well, the senator said this about this and that. Yesterday was a big day up on Washington, the House settlement hearings. Can you just give me the Cliff Notes version of like what was going on?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're just trying to figure out like roster limits. Will they be fluid or will they be transitioned? And will this settlement impact athletes 10 years from now? Is it fair to athletes 10 years from now? I've got an 8-year-old daughter. Let's say she becomes a women's soccer player at a school. This could impact her. Like they're trying to sort through all of that. And I think the bigger thing is this bureaucracy puts us in this money grab that it is, puts us all to sleep. Like nobody's finding this compelling. Nobody's finding this interesting. And in fact, I think the bigger stuff that's going on in Washington, D.C. is stuff like, you got, Representative Michael Baumgartner from the state of Washington there, who's writing this bill right now where he's going to propose that NIL dollars and media rights dollars within the conferences should be shared in the same way that the NFL pools their money. Like he wants to introduce legislation there and he wants presidential intervention. He's asking for President Trump to step in and appoint someone as the commissioner. Like that's the kind of stuff I'm into because I'm like, hey, that could be shape-shifting for the whole thing. And Baumgartner wants to use the federal financial aid money that goes to all these universities. It dwarfs the media rights monies. We're talking about billions of dollars. And say, hey, look, if you don't want to participate in this, cool, go form your own league. But if you want to be part of college sports, guess what? You're going to pool your media rights money. You're going to pool your NIL money. We're going to have a hard salary cap. Athletes at Washington State and Boise State will get the same amount of money as athletes at Alabama. It's interesting stuff, but I think this House stuff is coming. And then beyond that, I think you're going to see Congress get involved. I think, Baumgartner says he's got some support.
How realistic, though, what Senator Baumgartner wants? And for those who don't know, he's a WSU grad, Spokane.
Yep.
How realistic, though, what he wants will actually come to fruition?
It's hard to say because, you're going to need unilateral support for this. Like you're going to need, and to this point, what Democrats are saying in DC is they would like the athletes to unionize. And what Republicans are saying is, hey, we need to step in and we need to create an antitrust exemption. Much like, let's just use the NBA as an example. LeBron James is worth what, $500 million to the NBA a year? Like, what is he worth? Put a number on it. He can't make that. Okay. It's not fair to LeBron. He has to kind of be part of this system that is a little bit socialist where he has to say, hey, I can only make 50 million. And, the rest of the league's players are going to get a share of the proceeds because we get an antitrust exemption. That's what they're trying to get done. I don't know if he'll get there, but I think he's doing some saber rattling right now, and I find it interesting.
All right, I want to switch gears. Of all the stuff, I mean, you write just everything that is fabulous. We got your Monday mailbag, your coverage of the Pac-12. I can sneak that in now. We have no news on the media deal, right? You and I have talked before. Kind of April 15th, we've circled that kind of day. Yeah. If nothing happens, then maybe there should be some questions being asked. And right now, a week away, nothing.
Well, here's what I got. So I wrote that yesterday in the Monday mailbag. I said, somebody asked me, when should Pac-12 fans panic? Mm-hmm. And the panic date ultimately would be like end of June, because you have a July 1, 2026 hard date from the NCAA that says you have to add at least one more member. It takes about a year. You don't want to get inside of a year to onboard a school to your conference. So it takes about a year. And, oh, by the way, on July 1 of 25, some of those exit fees go up for some of these schools and other conferences. So now you're paying more to get them. So I would say late June, you start to go, oh crap, something went wrong here. Okay. But I started backing up from that and going, okay, realistically, like I start to ask questions about April 15th. I start to, really start to think something's gone wrong. If you're like into May 1st, May 5th, and you don't have a deal yet and you're the Pac-12. And so I put that out in the mailbag. I heard from 2 different Pac-12 university campus sources, one this morning and one yesterday afternoon, who both said, thank you for putting the timeline out there because it helps people manage their expectations. I think they feel good about what they have in hand. I feel like a big part of their expansion plan is now tied to the settlement negotiations with the Mountain West. That tells me that UNLV is probably still in play. I was told the Pac-12 had re-engaged with UNLV at some point in the last couple of weeks. So that fits there. Maybe they're running that ground ball out before they move on to other things. Texas State's president, I got in touch with him last week. Kind of a character, tweeting about his bowl of soup, and he wants a full bowl of soup, not a half a bowl of soup.
It looked pretty full to me.
I think I like personality, so I didn't mind it. But I think he's definitely talking about media rights when he's saying he wants a full bowl of soup, even though he won't say he's talking about media rights. And from that standpoint, I view Texas State as a fallback. So I still think the plan for the Pac-12 is to go after UNLV, see if they can get him. Now, we know that, they got about 40, 45 days left to possibly negotiate a settlement with the Mountain West. And so I'm kind of wondering how much of the Pac-12's pause here is about running out that ground ball and seeing if UNLV has got the appetite for a little risk and a jump. And because, that's the school that makes sense geographically.
Yeah, absolutely. And John will be all over. Just follow him. Again, John Canzano, BFT. Read all of his work, johncanzano.com. If you're not a subscriber, go be a subscriber today. One of your latest stories just immediately grabbed my attention when it was dropped in my mailbox. And that's the thing I like is all your stories just come right to my email. And then I click on it. And it says, right away it got me, a boy, a boat, and a race against time. And you wrote this story about William Jackson. He's been dealing with a genetic disorder. He needs a lot of money to have this experimental drug that he and his family need to get. They have started a fundraiser. You just caught something. I mean, I couldn't get through the thing without like crying at the end, especially when you're going into, one of your weekends of watching, your girls perform on the field and then music and and you had a line in there that it just really struck me because it's true for anyone that has kids. And you wrote in there, we would do anything for our children. And you're just 100% right. There's nothing that I wouldn't do for my kids. Nothing. And I think that's the same for every parent. For those who don't know the story of William Jackson, just fill in our audience.
Yeah, I mean, he has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and so he was diagnosed at age 3. So I've known about this kid for 3 years. He's 6 now. And his parents, it was a real fluke how they found out. He's got this genetic disorder. Most of us have a genetic code that goes like 1 to 79 and then repeats. Williams goes 1 to 20, then it goes back to 1, goes back to 20, then goes 21 to 79. For whatever reason, that's the hand that he got dealt. And so his muscles are an issue. Now, when you work out, Puck, or I work out, our muscles will break down and then they will regenerate. And the simple way to explain what happens with muscular dystrophy or this case of muscular dystrophy is that when Williams muscles break down, they don't repair. They don't rejuvenate. They become scar tissue. They become fatty tissue. And over time, kids that have this condition arrive at about age 20, and that's about their life expectancy. Most of those boys don't make it. And for whatever reason, genetically, they are mostly boys who have this condition. So his parents obviously are trying to do everything they could possibly do to make him comfortable. But pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies, they don't want to do experimental stuff and go do a bunch of research because these Duchenne muscular dystrophy cases are all unique because they relate to the genetic code. No two are the same. And so even if you find something that works for little William, you can't apply it to the next kid realistically. And so the insurance companies go, hey, why would we do something for one little boy? And my question back is, how can we not do something for one little boy? Like, we would all do this for our kids. And I watched my little 8-year-old run track on Saturday, and then she went to a lacrosse game, and I watched my 10-year-old do choir. And, I've got a college senior who is healthy and, going to her classes in her last term. And I'm just struck, like, any of us would do anything we could possibly do. But they have found a company that does some really advanced genetic work, and they want to do some gene therapy on William. The cost of it is $2.2 million. Like, wrap your head around that. If it came to you, Puck, and they said, hey, it's a chance we could give your child a better quality of life, maybe even save him. And maybe even they could see 30 or 40 years old instead of 20 and have it be a higher quality of life. 2.2 million is the price tag. They have to come up with $800,000 by May 1st. And so they feel helpless. And of course, they've created a fundraiser. We rowforwilliam.org is the website, because Dad is going to be rowing the Rogue River. They live in Medford, Oregon, Southern Oregon. Dad works at Southern Oregon University. Mom is the chief financial officer for the athletic department at Portland State. She works remotely. Dad is getting in a boat. He's going to row 157 miles of the Rogue River. And he's hoping people will donate or pledge and help out by sponsoring a mile or by giving $50 or $100 or whatever they can give. I got to tell you, in the process of writing the column, I was adding the link that you're seeing right there. And I literally went like, hey, I need to make a donation. And because, why wouldn't we help one little boy? And he's 6 years old. They've got him a wheelchair because why? They don't want him walking and running around everywhere, because when his muscle tissue breaks down, that's it for that tissue. But he's trying to be a little kid. He's got friends. He plays video games. He's got a little brother who's 3 years old. It's heartbreaking. And at the same time, I think it sticks me in a place in my heart where I go, like, this is a real opportunity for a lot of us to get involved, help them out, give what you can, share it with other people, share this episode of Puck's, videocast podcast with friends and say, hey, listen to this part about William. But, his dad and his mom, I reached out to her, and I know the story, and I wrote the column, and I was texting with her a little bit on Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, and then wrote the column on Sunday. She read the column on Sunday morning, and she was on a hike, and she said she was in tears at the top of her hike reading it. And I said to her, like, that's good, because that means that I captured his story, and I captured it in a way that, will resonate with people. And, again, these drug companies and these insurance companies are going to say, hey, it doesn't make any sense for us to help just one little kid. That's not our model. But for the real world, like, there's a real world application here. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we help one little kid?
Yeah, we're sharing it for the listening audience. We're sharing the website, wewillforwilliam.org. We'll post it out. We'll send it out on all the social media channels. You can sponsor a mile, as John just was talking about. He's going to do 157 miles on the Rogue River. You can sponsor a mile. You can just make a one-time donation. And I just think that what you wrote in there is like what wouldn't we do for our kids? And I think that's the ethos of that entire column. And I think for where they're at, I mean, because you do anything. I mean, 2 million, that wouldn't discourage anyone.
It made me, I posted that column, and then I blasted it on social media, and then I went and I left my workspace, and I went into the other part of the house, and the first person I encountered was my 10-year-old, and I just hugged her. Yeah. And, even last night, my college senior daughter wanted to go to a concert in downtown Portland. She's going to college in Corvallis. She's driving by herself to this concert. She's hanging out with her friends. She's driving back. You know what I was doing at like midnight, 12:30. I'm watching her on Find My Friends, go through the drive-through of McDonald's, and then make sure she gets home. Like, I'm tracking her all the way to her, where she's living in college, because that's what we do. That's what we do for our kids. So, maybe we can all help William, put our arms around him. And, I know the parents are just moved by the reaction that people have had. And for people, like, if you're in a position where you can't give, the best thing you can do is you can post this to social media. Post it to your social media. Do something. William's dad, Joe, is getting in this boat. He's going to row 157 miles, and he's going to do it nonstop. So it's 36 hours, no sleep. He's doing it. Why? Because he feels helpless. And it gives him a chance to go, I'm going to do something. I relate to that. Like, I would want to be like, let me fix this. And so I think we can all relate to that as parents.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful column. It's sad and beautiful at the same time, but important that you wrote it, and important for them to share. And again, we'll pump that up as much as we possibly can. WeRowForWilliam.org is the website. You can donate any way you can, and like to John's point, you're right. If you can't, just share it. Share it on all your Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and maybe somebody will. People will help out, and I hope it works out for William. But
that's how you get. Like, I saw some exponential growth after writing the column. Like, his mom reached out and said, in the first hour there were like 35 people who donated, and I said, well, you need everyone to be sharing that, because that's where you get to 2.2 million pretty easily without it being painful for donors involved. And maybe there is somebody out there that can make a larger donation. I know the kid's favorite basketball player is Scoot Henderson, with the Blazers. Scoot, if you're watching this, you got a fan out there that needs you.
Sure. Beautiful. You do it all. And that's why we love having you on every single week. That's what you get when you sign up for johncanzano.com. Follow him on social media, John Canzano BFT. And again, he's with us every single week. I always you know what? I get excited when that email drops in my inbox.
Thanks.
I know it's something good every single time.
Thanks, Buck.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.